sponsored by War Thunder. More information later in the video, so stay tuned. In 2009, a thread was created on the Something Awful forums with a simple prompt: create paranormal images. Many submissions were posted to the thread, but among all of the creations, 2 photos stuck out. This was the origin of Slenderman. After Eric Knudsen uploaded the famous Slenderman photos to Something Awful, other forum users would begin to write their own stories revolving around the character. Something about this eerie man in the background of otherwise mundane photos really powered up the creative juices in people's brains. This storytelling would even spread past the Something Awful forums, with people all around the internet joining in. Soon you had a whole mythos surrounding the character composed by people from around the globe. Famous web series like Marble Hornets and Everyman Hybrid would utilize the character to create some of the earliest and most iconic horror web series ever. A small indie horror game called Slender the 8 Pages blew up in the Let's Play community, and the Slenderman character began to appeal to children, with websites being flooded with fanfiction of Slenderman hooking up with their own Hot Topic murder OCs. Before you know it, Slenderman was doing the Gangnam Style and teenage girls were committing murders just to try and meet the guy. He even rap battled Jeff the Killer.
Emo hair and white hoodie, no class to be found. We're your talent scarred as well because your minds are profound. You're a pedophile.
Then multiple studios tried to cash in on the craze by creating low-budget horror movie schlock. Slenderman became oversaturated. Slenderman wasn't scary anymore. And today, Slenderman is more so remembered for the desecration of whatever made him scary than the original 2 images that captivated the entire internet. But even if Slenderman doesn't hold the same amount of respect that they once had, they helped pave the way for the future of internet horror. Marble Hornets and Everyman Hybrid helped shape the path for future horror ARGs and web series like Allen Tutorial and Local 58. It only made sense that video games would be incorporated sometime down the line.
You shouldn't have done that, time to give you a round. I'm back for good bitches and this time I won't drown.
Iconic video game-centric horror web series like Petscop and Catastrophe Crow have been defining video game horror web series. But there's one game that seems to be a fan favorite, and it's quite an unexpected pick. Unless you read the title of this video, in which case I bet you have a pretty good guess. Garry's Mod has always had a spooky side to the community. I know I keep saying that in like every video I make, but only because it's true. Something about Gmod's sandbox nature gives the game a creepy aura when you play it by yourself, whether it be unnerving ambience of an empty map, or the GM Construct Darkroom where you're completely alone in the pitch black. And from 2019 to 2022, there was a massive boom in web series that utilized Gmod's creepier side to tell interesting horror stories. So today, we'll be hopping into the disturbing world of Gmod ARGs. But before I dive in, you wanna see something epic? Tanks, planes, and floaty things, because this video was sponsored by War Thunder. War Thunder is a super sweet PvP game where you can pilot all of your favorite tactical machinery. There are over 2,000 vehicles to choose from, ranging all the way from the 1920s to the modern day. That's right, you can pilot a piece of machinery from when people thought that gelatin salad looked delicious. And after picking your favorite vehicle, you can see it in stunning detail as each model is detailed down to their individual components, ensuring that every doohickey and thingamabob doesn't go unnoticed as they take realistic damage from enemy attacks. And chances are if you're watching this video, you already think that war machines and customization are awesome. So you should be pleased to hear about War Thunder's extensive customization system, allowing you to creatively express yourself. I always personally really like it when games allow you to express yourself through customization and playstyle, and War Thunder gives you the best of both worlds. So play it now for free. That's right, you can play it for free. And for the new players who are watching this, you're in for a bargain as well, because if you use my link in the description and pinned comment, you can get access to a large bonus pack that includes multiple premium vehicles, a premium account, a slick decorator for your vehicles, and many other little goodies. All for the low price of $0. Not to mention, the game is available on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. Thanks for sponsoring the video, War Thunder, and make sure to show them some love. Now, let's get back to the video. In 2017, a channel named Gmod9fan Reuploads would be created and start being active. The channel's description simply reads, re-uploading my old Gmod9fan vids circa 2006. So judging from the description of this channel, we can see that the person is uploading their old Gmod videos from 2006, right during the Gmod Machinima era. And the channel's first upload reflects this. This video is just the type of thing you'd see on YouTube during the early days of Gmod Machinima. However, something is off. The video distorts and glitches, and during one of these distortions, you can see a figure A-posing in the distance. These aren't just normal Gmod videos. This is also apparent in the next video uploaded to the channel called Rad Letter Day Bomb Funk MC's Freestyler Half-Life 2 Disco. In this video, the player tours a custom scene of various Half-Life characters dancing to a 2000s club banger. I can't play the audio because of copyright issues, but if you listen closely, you can hear the player's parents loudly fighting in the background. However, at the end of the video, this happens. For a brief moment, this figure shows up on screen, and you can catch a better look by adjusting the brightness. Who is this dude? This wouldn't be the only time we'd see this guy either, as in the very next video, which on the surface just seems like a normal tutorial, at the end, you can catch a glimpse of this figure walking out of the darkroom. This is highly unnatural to Gary's mod. Whatever this entity is, the player did not spawn or create it. This deeply unsettles the player, and in the next upload, presumably directly after the last, we see them using lights to explore the darkroom while holding a shotgun for safety. But the strange entity isn't to be found. After not finding this strange anomaly, the player begins to feel a bit safer, and in the next upload, they are seen playing Gary's mod like normal. However, if you look closely, you can see the figure watching the player from afar, quietly observing them. Every time the player glances in the direction of the entity, the screen begins to distort. This weird shadow figure appears to have powers that extend even past the limits of Gary's mod, affecting the very recording it appears in. And while this entity hasn't shown itself to be outright hostile, it's safe to say the player is a wee bit spooked by it. Gmod9fan's next upload is what I believe to be the origin of this mysterious entity. In the video, titled How to Crash a Server Easy in Gmod 9, the player character fashions a cross out of wooden poles before crucifying a cheapo ragdoll. After setting the ragdoll on fire, this happens. So, whatever this ritual is, it bugs the game and creates this mysterious stalking cheapo model. According to the description, the player doesn't even remember creating this video, so perhaps the entity is even capable of erasing the memories of those it contacts. After a couple more encounters with the entity, the player has had enough, and takes the only rational course of action they can think of: blowing him the f*** up. The player enters the darkroom, spawns a gazillion explosive barrels, and sets that sucker ablaze. After the explosion, this happens. The entity shows itself directly to the camera, and for the first time, the cheapo has eyeballs in his eyeball holes. However, inside the darkroom, things have changed. It appears the explosion fundamentally changed the map by blowing up a passageway. The video ends before we see what's on the other side. It could very well be possible that the shadow entity has escaped from the player's version of Gary's mod and has been unleashed somewhere else in the digital world. And that was Gmod9fan Reuploads. Much like the machinimas it imitates, this web series is short, rough around the edges, and a bit amateur. I mean, come on, welding a ragdoll to a burning cross, it's a bit on the nose. However, what this web series does have going for it is a very unique premise: being haunted by something you can't understand while you're just trying to make silly YouTube videos. Gmod9fan Reuploads would have the perfect formula to be expanded upon and made into something much better. And 2 years later in 2019, that's exactly what would happen. This is Classic GM Videos, the next web series we'll be discussing. This channel's description reads, "Archive my classic Gmod video." Already you can see a direct comparison with Gmod9fan, with this channel being a supposed archive of the channel creator's old Garry's Mod videos. So is this spiritual successor gonna be a Godfather 2 or a Pooser 2? This is their first video, a video titled G-Man's Day Out. So it's a wacky Gmod machinima surrounding G-Man on a channel composed of re-uploads from someone's old Gmod footage. They really are using the formula established by Gmod9fan. The similarities don't end there. Keen-eyed viewers may have noticed that during parts of the videos where the music is distorted, you can see a dark entity watching from afar. The player even covers the entrances with large metal gates. However, you can still see the entity watching from the window. Just like Gmod9fan, this player is not alone. We'll catch a better glimpse of this entity in the video Misc Recording 1, where after a glitch in the recording, the entity shows itself and begins to observe the player. I'd like to imagine the entity doesn't even realize it's being spooky and just wants to play Gmod with the player, but it's too shy to ask, like a little creepypasta wallflower. However, things get extra spooky in the next upload titled GM Graveyard Creepy Secret Room Tutorial. And I'll play this one in full because this might be my favorite video I'll talk about in this video. So, what exactly just happened? Well, GM Graveyard was an actual map that used to be in Garry's Mod. However, there was no secret entrances to a hell dimension in that version. Also, the fact that you can see the shadow figure in the hallway for a brief moment leads me to believe that this room is a result of direct interference from the shadow entity. Perhaps this video is the player unintentionally inviting the entity into their own game. One out there theory suggests that both Gmod9fan and classic GM videos are directly connected. If you remember, Gmod9fan ended with a dark figure escaping the player's game through a hole in the map. And in this video, the player opens a secret entrance with a dark figure on the other side. Perhaps these two ARGs are connected and made by the same person. In fact, Gmod9fan uploaded their last video right around the time classic GM videos started being active. But hey, that's just a theory. In the next video, we get a behind the scenes of the machinima that started it all. In the original video, you could see the shadow entity in the background. And here in this video, we see the player character actually noticing them for the first time, and blocking off the door. The player blocking off the secret admirer really seems to have angered the entity. And in the video Pondibus, the entity starts to get very aggressive with its powers. The description for this video reads, "Here's another one, just in case you still don't believe me from the first one. Game crashed at the end, it happens more and more often now. I don't know what to do, nothing fixes it." This video was never uploaded to YouTube. Instead, it seems like it was sent directly to a friend as proof. That friend most likely being Skizzy, someone who's only been briefly mentioned in the description of a few videos. In the video, the player is fooling around with their pod, as all boys typically do, when they discover that for some reason, the normally shallow lake of GM Construct has become a deep abyss. At the end of this video, you can hear the player's feet make contact with solid concrete, and the water sounds stop playing. This player isn't in water anymore, yet the screen is still covered with a murky green haze. You can hear something making a strong buzzing sound, and it begins to rapidly approach the player, with the game crashing when it presumably makes contact with them. The entity haunting these videos is essentially toying with the player like prey, mutating the game to scare them. Throughout various videos, the entity continues to torment the player, with them becoming increasingly paranoid. In a video that was deleted from classic GM videos and has since been re-uploaded by other channels, you can see the extent that this entity goes to torment the player. Eventually, the player is brave enough to dive straight into the pond abyss for an answer. And what does he find at the bottom? Well, it's more like where he finds the bottom. It's the Darkroom. Once more, we see a Gmod ARG entity with a close connection to the Darkroom, and it appears the player is starting to be deeply unsettled, but is being pressured by an outside source to continue their investigation. The owner of the channel is most likely being coerced by Skizzy to keep going, and the further they push the investigation, the more aggressive the entity becomes. So aggressive, in fact, its reach extends even past Gary's mod. In a video titled Half-Life 2 Nova Prospect Weird/Creepy Secret Area, the player finds a cleverly hidden secret room, and inside, there's nothing but a large radio prop. This room is not in Half-Life 2. This secret area is the result of something tampering with the game. With some help from their friend Skizzymeister, the player finds out the purpose of this radio. If you find women reading numbers as scary as I do, you were probably on the edge of your seat throughout that entire clip. But these numbers actually do serve a purpose. One we'd find out in the very next video, simply titled POS. In this video, the player uses the developer console to type set pause followed by the numbers spoken on the radio. Set pause is short for set position, and using this command will instantly teleport you to a certain location depending on the numbers you put in. So, where does this assortment of numbers from the radio teleport the player? Well, I'll give you 3 guesses. Is it A, the Darkroom, B, an entirely different map, or C, Five Nights at Freddy's? Oh, well, I'll be damned, I guess it really was C. Just kidding, it's the Darkroom. However, this Darkroom isn't normal. The player immediately runs towards the exit. However, it's been sealed off by a brick wall, and when running back to where he came from, it's turned into a large abyss. The player is presented with only one option: jump down the deep chasm and see what's down there. Instead, the player elects to nope the fuck out of there, and honestly, I can't blame him. This is the second instance of the Gmod entity toying with the player by presenting them with a deep abyss. Maybe the two are connected, or maybe the entity just really loves deep chasms, who's to say? However, things are taken a step further in the video B2. This scenario should look familiar. After minding their own business playing with ragdolls and GM Construct, the player is suddenly transported to a different version of the room. It's completely dark, and a metal gate is used to shut off all of the exits. This is what the player did to the shadow entity in G-Man's Day Out. Perhaps it's the entity giving the player a taste of their own medicine, or perhaps there's some Emesis blue time loop action going down. In the aptly titled B3, we see what happens directly after the player escapes from this room. This version of Construct is filled with various props and ragdolls from past videos. Could there really be some strange time loop phenomenon happening to the player? Well, there's not too much info to confirm or deny that that's what's happening, so we can only theorize on what these specific videos mean. Moving on, the next important video to talk about is GM Dance Floor Showcase. In this video, the player is touring a map called GM Dance Floor version 2. It's a simple clubhouse map complete with late 2000s EDM bangers. The strange thing is that this map doesn't exist. It's exclusive to the web series. Things take a turn for the bizarre when a message flashes on screen and the player is suddenly killed and falls down another giant pit under the dance floor. The video seemingly ends there, but it somehow keeps going. When the video comes back, the player is in the middle of discovering an elaborate secret that, when completed, gives the player a secret code. Upon inputting that code, this happens. The shadow entity has some pretty avant-garde taste in music. But what's stranger is what the Easter egg does to the map. It opens a long, narrow passageway, just like the GM Graveyard secret. And after heading down it, the game glitches and the player emerges into the same map. However, the pool room has been completely replaced by an empty box. Just like the B videos, the player finds themselves in some sort of altered or mirrored reality. There's some sort of connection between the shadow entity and these alternate worlds, as they can seemingly transport the player in and out of them at will. And as far as the main mystery goes, that's all we know. The player opens some sort of passage that allows an entity into their game that toys with them and makes them paranoid. This entity can cause anomalies on maps and seems to be able to teleport them to alternate realities of these maps. They also seem to have an obsession with long hallways and deep holes. You can see that this web series was heavily inspired by Gmod9fan, with the old machinimas and the spooky shadow figure lurking in the corner, but classic GM Videos is able to take the same formula established by Gmod9fan and transform it into their own unique series that massively improves upon its inspiration. At this point, Gmod ARGs are still fresh. However, there's still a lot of room to grow with the concept, and if people just place spooky black figures in the corner of every video, that concept would obviously grow stale. Gmod ARGs needed an innovation, and one creator would breathe new life into the scene with their own unique take. This is Gunslinger Pro 2009, a channel that started to pick up steam in 2019. Unlike the previous web series, looking at this YouTube page, you can see that they heavily draw from TF2 for their videos, as opposed to the primarily Half-Life themed videos of previous ARGs. But Gunslinger Pro brings much more to the table than just a change in setting. Chronologically, the first video in the series is called Sniper is Book, although now it shows up as the most recent video because it's been remade. Here is that video.
Sniper is Book! Read me!
It may not seem like it, but you can actually tell quite a bit from just this 9-second video. It seems like just another harmless Gmod machinima like G-Man's Day Out, but in the final few seconds of the video, you can notice some things. For starters, watch the heavy ragdoll. Although it's very subtle, you can see him moving a little bit, almost as if he's trying to hold a pose. The video isn't long enough to draw any solid conclusions, but keep this in mind as we move on to the next video in the series, titled Spy is Sandwich.
Deposito, la llamaron. Sandwich. How could this happen?
Now, it's much more obvious. Somehow the ragdolls of these characters are alive, and they are not happy. The spy bangs on the camera, begging for help. In the background, you can even see the heavy move his head away from Spy, almost as if he knows what's about to happen. In the final moments of the video, the spy is dragged off by the player. In previous web series, the player was the protagonist. We were rooting for them to overcome the shadow entity. But here, the roles have been reversed. The player is now the villain, using sentient TF2 characters like living puppets in their Gmod machinimas. And judging by Spy's desperate pleading for help, Gunslinger is probably a big old bully. Gunslinger's next video is titled Gary's Mod Ragdoll Walker Tutorial, and shows the process of creating a device that allows a player to imitate a ragdoll walking. Near the beginning of the video, Gunslinger uses a soldier ragdoll as an example. Listen closely.
Each and every one of you will be sent home to your mama in a box. Last one alive, lock the door. Pain is weakness leaving the body.
The ragdolls continue to try and call for help without alerting Gunslinger, and when Gunslinger goes to delete the soldier ragdoll, having served its purpose, you can see him shaking his head, pleading for mercy. Mercy, the big old bully Gunslinger, will not grant him. These ragdolls are helpless subjects of an angry god, and that angry god will use his control to make silly Gmod sketch comedy videos. After creating a new ragdoll walker, Gunslinger attaches a familiar face to it. The Blue Spy, the same one that tried to escape in Spy is Sandwich. Looks like Gunslinger is giving him another chance to behave during a recording. Unfortunately for them, Spy is hell-bent on escaping. The ending of this video directly ties into the next, which is simply a date. The date in the title confirms that this series takes place around 2010. This video was from the point of view of some sort of creature shuffling around in a dark room. It's not obvious what this creature is, but whatever it is, it can only manage a slow hobble, and its movements are stilted and unnatural. Eventually, it finds a mirror and we find out just what this creature is. It's the spy. Gunslinger decided that the spy needed to be punished for constantly disobeying, and he contorted and mangled the body of the spy beyond recognition, transformed him into some sort of bizarre headcrab-like creature. Gunslinger is not just a big bully. They're a psychopath. And even in this form, the spy still desires an escape. But Gunslinger Pro finds him and shoves him back into the dark room, which he has transformed into a makeshift prison. Spy is not the only character to get the Cronenberg treatment. In Gunslinger's next video, we see another one of their twisted ragdoll creations.
The sniper is a blood entry.
On its own, this video is completely harmless, but with the context that we now have, it really shows the extent Gunslinger will go for their entertainment and the complete disregard they have for the well-being of the sentient ragdolls. Something disturbing that you may have noticed is that during this video, the Sentry Sniper amalgamation appears to have no head. But where have we seen Sniper's head before? Sniper is Book, the first video of the series. These ragdolls can be maimed as far as decapitation and still retain their sentience. In the next upload, Gary's Mod Ultimate Sled Tutorial, we see another encounter with a sentient ragdoll.
Engineer is charged to team. Yes, you are good friend.
If Spy tries to escape by running, then the Heavy Ragdoll is doing the exact opposite. The Heavy Ragdoll tries to play nice with Gunslinger Pro, calling them a good friend. He's trying to get on Gunslinger's good side for the chance that maybe he'll be less cruel. You can see that the Heavy immediately regrets this approach, however, as halfway through speaking, he begins to back up, as if bracing for what's about to happen. To Gunslinger, it doesn't matter if you're trying to run away or trying to be nice. If you act out of line, you will be punished. And in Gunslinger's next video, Engineerland, we see the fruits of their labor.
There once was a town that worked so hard, there was just no time for play. But that all changed on this one particular day. There's a time for work, and there's a time for play. 6 Flags. It's playtime.
In this video, the engineer does his iconic engineer jig and takes all of the TF2 mercenaries, at least the ones that aren't crab-shaped, to a theme park. But take a look beneath the surface, and you'll see that these mercenaries are not party animals. The frame before the engineer starts dancing, you can catch a brief glimpse of the face poser Tool's ring. The engineer is being forced to keep up a happy face. The same goes for Heavy. During this shot, you can see his face is grimacing, obviously discontent. That is, until he notices the cameras on him and immediately puts on a big cheesy grin. During the time you can see the face poser ring, you can also see Gunslinger Pro's health in the corner, at 93. He's not at full health. Is it possible that one of the mercenaries attacked him during the recording of the video, causing him to lose health? Later on, taking a look at Pyro during the Ferris wheel scene, you can see that they seem really uncomfortable sitting next to the engineer, and they even glance outwards towards the player. With the engineer being Gunslinger Pro's namesake and his profile being the engineer, it's safe to say that engineer is their favorite mercenary. And with engineer being the most compliant with Gunslinger, it's likely that they receive special treatment. This would explain why Pyro was so nervous around the engineer. In Gunslinger Pro's next video, Gary's Mod Wire Mouse Turret Tutorial, this video is an in-depth tutorial on how to use the Wire Mod add-on to create a manable turret. Sounds neat, right? Well, that is until you consider what they're going to be shooting with the turret. Just like the TF2 mercenaries, it's implied that these Half-Life Rebel NPCs are also sentient, and Gunslinger Pro does not stop at just the turret. He creates an entire tank, and the latter half of the video consists of him slaughtering an entire outpost of Rebel NPCs. Strangely, during this massacre, at one point, you can see a lamp fly by Gunslinger's face, something that seems to confuse and distract them. However, Gunslinger's reign of terror comes to an end when this happens. One of the Rebel NPCs actually manages to sacrifice herself and using an explosive barrel destroys Gunslinger's tank, killing them in the process. Unfortunately for the Rebel, her sacrifice is kinda nullified by the fact that Gunslinger can just instantly respawn. However, this shows that sentient Garry's Mod characters actually can fight back against Gunslinger with tangible results. Taking a closer look at the Rebel, you can see that her appearance is strange. Their arm has been contorted into a magnet hand of sorts, and they have a metal tube coming out of her eye. It's very reminiscent of Spy's melon makeover, but what could have implanted these augments into the Rebel if not the player? And did you hear that at the end of the video? When this audio clip is placed inside of a spectrogram, it actually reveals a hidden code that, when put in as a YouTube link, sends you to an unlisted video on Gunslinger's YouTube page. Here is that video. In this video, we see a blue medic drag a Rebel to some sort of machine. There is so much to unpack in this video. For starters, the body medic is dragging looks like the NPC that sacrificed herself in the Wire Mod tutorial. However, they don't seem to have any of the body augmentations they had in that video, so I believe this video chronologically takes place before the tank massacre. And whatever this machine is that medic dragged the Rebel to, is the thing that gave her these mechanical augmentations. So the blue medic is part of some sort of rebellion that uses this machine to produce NPCs capable of fighting back against Gunslinger Pro. But what is this machine? Well, whatever it is, it seems to be alive. The props that the machine is composed of sway as if it's breathing. And what other creature have we seen that was composed of props? The blue spy in the dark room. I'm really reading between the lines here with this theory, but hear me out. During the video where the blue spy fella briefly escapes the darkroom prison, we see Gunslinger posing the blue medic. Perhaps the blue medic had the opportunity to begin experimenting on the blue spy even further, transforming him into this machine with the ability to produce other amalgamations capable of fighting back against Gunslinger Pro. One last thing to note is that during this video, you can hear another instance of audio code, and when this audio is placed inside of a spectrogram, it contains another bizarre message. This message seems to be referencing some sort of skybox file, and also something being up to date, maybe in reference to the node graph, something that is used for NPCs in the source engine. I don't really know what to make of this yet, but I have a feeling it's going to be relevant in the future. And as of right now, that's all we know about Gunslinger Pro 2009. This webseries is original and presents a very terrifying concept. What if your entire existence was to act as a plaything for an angry godlike being, forced to act in their skits as a living puppet? And if you somehow manage to escape, you're getting the crab treatment. However, just like Gmod9fan, despite inventing a very unique premise and formula, this web series is a tad on the shorter side, and there's still room to grow with the concept of sentient ragdolls. Well, about a year after Gunslinger Pro started picking up steam, another creator would throw their hat into the ring. In 2021, a channel named Badwater Videos 2009 would start to be active. I think the best introduction to this channel is just showing you the first episode in the series. In this video, we see Team Fortress 2 gameplay, not from the perspective of a Gmod player, but from a scout from TF2. However, some things are very off that clue us into this not really being TF2. For starters, there's no one on the server, and the objective is completely locked. Eventually, the scout runs into Badwater Videos themselves, and just like Gunslinger, it looks like this guy is a big ol' bully. Despite trying to run away, the scout is captured, and you can even see this reflected in the HUD. In the next upload, we see what happened to the captured scout.
Oh, it is sad day. Very bad. Oh.
Hey!
It's not possible.
Ah!
Looks like Badwater improvised and used the captured scout in their machinima. It's in the next video, however, where Badwater's devious tendencies start to rear their ugly head. Just like Gunslinger, it looks like Badwater will straight up remove you from existence once you stop serving a purpose to them. They are completely apathetic to the ragdoll sentience. And it seems like Scout is about to meet a similar fate as well. However, the video glitches and distorts before we can truly see what happens. We'll check back up on Scout's fate later, but first, it's time to meet the most iconic character in Gmod ARG history, Melon Man.
Yes! Do it! I've locked the door! Eat my duck! Charge! Good night, Irene.
Oh. Melon. Melon.
I don't think they saw that one coming. That there was a fine piece of work.
Did you see that? No, I'm not talking about the awkwardly long handshake. Look in the background. The Scout Melon Man shot with his iconic melon bomb is seen crawling around wounded in the background. In the final moments of the video, Badwater notices the Scout and goes to presumably delete him as well. But don't worry about this small, very concerning details, because in the next video, we meet another iconic Badwater OC.
Job well done. What? Oh.
This is the Teeth-N-Ear. He's the Wile E. Coyote to Melon Man's Roadrunner. He's also a man-made horror beyond comprehension. Keep in mind, this character is completely sentient and was alive throughout the process that turned him into this creature. In this video, the Teeth-N-Ear decides to harass the Red Engineer, and once more, the Melon Man comes to his defense. Here, we see a difference in how Gunslinger and Badwater treat their ragdolls.
Oh, hell. Oh, I'm gonna beat you so hard you'll have a twitch.
Whereas any hint of sentience was punished by Gunslinger, whether it was friendly or not, here, Badwater actively uses their sentience as a tool to create better machinimas, threatening Melon Man with the remover tool so he'll more realistically beat up the Teeth-N-Ear. However, both of these people are probably not fun at parties. In the next video passage, we see what happened to the Red Scout. Somehow, he awakes on a bench in Lumber Mill, a TF2 arena map, far from Sawmill where we last saw him. The sound he awakes to is that of a number station, similarly to that of classic GM videos.
27369897985.
Eventually, the scout arises from the bench and makes his way to a strange door.
368698979.
The numbers spoken on the number station are actually a 16-bit hexadecimal code, and when translated they read, "You must hide, run." Whatever this strange door is, it appears Scout needs to use it to escape from Badwater. Going back to the Melon Man cinematic universe, it appears that the Teeth-N-Ear has found the body of a blue soldier. He takes the body to a laboratory, and it's here where we discover that the Teeth-N-Ear was only a henchman to Melon Man's true arch-rival, Dr. Metalhead. You'll never guess why he's called Dr. Metalhead. Looks like the Doctor is working on creating a new villain for Melon Man to fight using the body of this blue soldier. Surely, nothing could go wrong. But before we can see the resolution to the huge Melon Man drama, Badwater Videos does a Q&A with viewers of their channel. And in this Q&A, we get a bunch of info about them. Their favorite class is the Spy. Unsurprisingly, Badwater is their favorite map. They edit on Sony Vegas. Bleh! Something went wrong. Looks like Melon Man won't be facing off against the Cyborg Soldier after all. Badwater Videos needs to go back to the drawing board. And in the video, How I Create Gmod Machinimas tutorial, we get to see that creative process. Things take a strange turn, however, when Badwater needs to use the ragdoll characters. Unlike normal Gary's mod, where it's as simple as bringing up the menu and clicking a button, Badwater has a very different process. This is the second time we've seen this strange white void, and it appears its purpose is to act as a gateway between maps and Gary's mod. You can even see this strange door in Badwater's channel banner. Also, the new YouTube UI sucks. But hold on, last time we saw the Red Scout, they escaped into this white void. Could that mean... Yes, the Scout has been recaptured by Badwater. Thankfully, Badwater isn't at crabinating levels of anger at Scout yet, and only uses him to currently test a familiar contraption, a ragdoll walker. However, as Badwater is distracted making the contraption, Scout is able to run into the darkroom, and Badwater is seen chasing after him. However, thankfully, Badwater is unable to recapture the Scout again, and in his place, Badwater uses the Red Engineer, which means that the Scout's getaway was actually successful. In the video Sanctuary, we actually get to see the Scout's point of view throughout the entire ordeal. It's a direct follow-up to Passage, with the Scout wandering through the White Gateway, before he finds the Red Engineer sitting in the map Off-Blast, which places this directly in the middle of the previous video's timeline, right after he picks up Melon Man. We then see the Scout's POV of the Ragdoll Walker incident, and we even get to see him Forrest Gump his way into the darkroom. Here, we see another subversion of the darkroom trope. In previous ARGs, the player is shown to have a fear of the darkroom, refusing to enter. And while before, it was played for spooks, here, the darkroom gives a sense of comfort to Scout, as he is now free to rest, for the first time, out of the grasp of Badwater. In the video Discarded, we catch back up with the Scout in the darkroom. It seems like Badwater uses the darkroom like I use my local river, something to dump all of your trash and litter in. After every machinima Badwater creates, it looks like this is the place where props go when Badwater uses the remover tool on them. Scout even finds the props used in the original broken TV video, and among them, the very same wrench Scout used to fix the TV. In the next upload, Subjugate, we see what Scout has been doing with the wrench. He's been building his own tool gun, the very tool that gives Badwater so much power with the ability to create and instantly destroy. Scout wants revenge. Unfortunately for him, he's already been found out. Badwater has officially entered cartoon supervillain Tears of Evil, creatively using the finger posing tool to snap Scout's finger like a twig, and begins to dissect him using a buzzsaw. Scout's fate may be even worse than getting crabified. Scout even appears in the next upload in the Melon Man cinematic universe, as someone that Melon Man needs to save. Needless to say, things are looking pretty hopeless for Scout. However, we'll find a small glimmer of hope in the next upload, Revelation. The video starts out with a recap of the events leading to this point. The reason the Scout was able to escape from the set of the broken TV was due to the help of the engineer and Melon Man. Just another reason to stan Melon Man. They drag the Scout to the area seen in Passage. Strangely, the Scout spawns in the White Room. This White Room is directly connected to the Passage dimension, and it's also a great way to pose ragdolls for thumbnails. That's right, I'm no better than Badwater videos. Bizarrely, the Scout also seems to be completely physically unharmed, and I don't think you can just take an Alka-Seltzer and walk off what happened at the end of Subjugate. He makes his way to the darkroom, and inside he sees... himself. So wait, how is this possible? How can there be two scouts at once, with each of them having the same memories? Well, it seems like Badwater is able to duplicate ragdolls, and the consciousness and memories they have is shared with all copies of the original. So while the original scout we've been following got the prop amalgamation treatment, it appears that during the filming of the previous Melon Man video, Badwater created a new copy of Scout, and made the mistake of not knowing that this Scout would carry the same memories and grudge as the original. And now this Scout is armed with a tool that can instantly remove and delete Badwater, and he is none the wiser. It appears Scout really angered Badwater as well, as we see in the video Punishment. In this video, we see that Badwater has created many copies of Scout, and has been viciously torturing each one of them in gruesome and cruel ways. Near the end of the video, Badwater directly talks to Scout for the first time using the chat box.
It will never be enough. No matter how much you suffer, it will never be enough. I'm not going to let you take this away from me.
In the universe of Badwater videos, the Melon Man series has been an immense success, netting him over 17,000 subscribers, which is a large feat for 2009 era YouTube. It appears the power of that fame has gone directly to their head like a Minecraft YouTuber, and Badwater will not take anyone trying to get in the way of that perceived fame lightly. Everything is building up to the showdown between the Red Scout and Badwater videos, where the Scout will have one chance to save the ragdolls and get revenge. Unfortunately, as of right now, that showdown has not happened yet, as Punishment is the most recent video in the series, as of this video. This web series massively expanded on the formula set up by Gunslinger Pro, with more uploads and a larger scope. But it's here where some issues start popping up. In storytelling, there's something very important called suspension of disbelief. I could phrase it in the boring English teacher way, or I could explain it using cool zoomer metaphors. Okay, so imagine that I'm standing under a giant anvil, and that anvil is tied to a rope. That rope is the suspension of disbelief. And every time there's something in a web series that takes me out of the experience a little bit, the rope grows a little weaker. I'm able to stretch my disbelief into believing that Gmod ragdolls are sentient beings. However, in this video where the player gives their anime supervillain speech to the scout, that kind of stretches my suspension of disbelief a little bit.
What happened?
I won.
And if the rope snaps and the anvil falls on my cranium, I'm gonna lose interest in a series. Thankfully, that rope has not snapped yet, and I still consider myself heavily invested in this series. However, going forward with Gmod ARGs, we're gonna see a lot of things that snap my suspension of disbelief and take me out of the experience. With that said, let's move on. This is a web series called Vintage Gmod Movies. It's a web series from the perspective of someone re-uploading Gmod videos they made back in the day. The videos consist of a player minding their own business on GM Construct, but they glance towards the dark room and see a mysterious pitch-black entity staring from the distance. In the videos, there's a VHS overlay implying that these videos were recorded on analog equipment. And the rope has snapped and my bones have been crushed. The problem with Gmod ARGs is that despite the creativity put in, it's a very easy formula to recreate, which makes the creation of a Gmod ARG very accessible. And not to gatekeep or anything, but when you have something very popular with an easy to recreate formula, you're gonna have a lot of imitators. Take for example this video called Zombie Base 1 from creator Gmod Guy 2006. The video consists of the player driving around GM Construct slicing zombies in half with a modified buggy while 2000s era rock music plays. This video is a near one-for-one recreation of Zombie Killer from the classic GM Videos web series. The tropes established by the Big Four web series have come to define the genre as a whole. Once you've kind of seen those four, you've kind of seen them all. You can even make a bingo card of Gmod ARG tropes, something which I have already done. Let's try out the bingo card using the web series Gmod Guy 2006. Despite only being 6 videos long and about 15 minutes in total length, this web series checked off 14 tropes on the bingo card. Same with a lot of other web series. Now that's not to say that these web series are objectively bad, or that my arbitrary bingo card is the end-all be-all of criticism, but that's just to say that the genre was very quickly filled with tropes that it just couldn't escape. It really seems like there's 2 routes people take with Gmod ARGs. The sentient ragdoll route, and the creepy shadow man route. Now don't go and harass the creators I've been criticizing either, I'm just using them as examples to show how tedious the genre has gotten over time. There's very little innovation, and when the innovation does come, I feel like it's often very misplaced. Allow me to use the web series Gaming Gramps for example. The web series follows an old man trying out Gmod for the first time. Alright. It's strongly insinuated the man is struggling with dementia. Alright. And you lost me. The fact that the old man edited the dementia song into his own video immediately breaks my suspension of disbelief and makes the video almost comical. So where does that leave us now? Well, at the beginning of the video I talked about Slender Man, and that's because I think there's a lot of parallels between Gmod ARGs and Slender Man. Just like how Slender Man lost its scare factor due to an oversaturation of content, so too have Gmod ARGs. However, that isn't necessarily a bad thing. Time flies on the internet, trends come and go in the blink of an eye. Slender Man inspired creators to create new and exciting things in a chain reaction that led to Gmod ARGs. Gmod ARGs will spawn a whole bunch of creators in the same exact way. The internet is cyclical, and eventually someone will come along and innovate to create something truly extraordinary. Just like Anamade has done with the Interloper series. A truly unique and fantastic take on the formula set up by Gmod ARGs. So, just because Gmod ARGs have kind of lost their punch, don't worry. This is just one stepping stone of internet trends towards even greater projects. Ones that I can't wait to cover in the future.
Thanks for sponsoring the video, War Thunder. Make sure to show them some love through the pinned comment and link at the top of the description.
This is a bucket.
Dear God.
There's more.
No.